Contract is basically this is a very general term, and we have very known about this contract. So contract is generally an agreement between two or more than two parties in which they agrees to provide the good or services. So generally in a construction we provide the goods in terms of a building, and sometimes we provide the services also. So in which he get the return, uh, some money or some any other form. Contract is a legal document and binding on both the parties. Parties are parties like the one who gives the contract and one who agrees on the contract to do some work. There are certain criteria which must be followed to fulfill the that for the legality of the contract, that there must be a mutual agreement. That means the party must agree that they are going to enter into the contract. There must be an offer made by one party, that is called promisor. The other party called as a promisee must accept the offer. The party who gives the offer, that is promisor, and the party who accepts the offer, that is promisee. There must be considerations, which is usually payment in the form of the money for doing of an act or absence doing or particular act by the promisor for promisee. The other offer acceptance should related to something that is not prohibited by the law. So contract generally, legal contract is that where the work which is given under the contract, that is under the law, and the offer and acceptance constitute an agreement that when enforceable by law become a contract. Also, the contract party entering into the agreement should be competent. Competent means they not qualified by either infancy or insanity to make such agreement. Means the party must have the valid authority or valid governmental or institutional support to enter into the contract. Theoretically, the contract can be oral also, one that is not written form. However, it is impossible to enforce in uh, it in case of the construction business. Keeping track of the people of agreement reached between the parties become difficult. Therefore, all the construction contracts are written form. So verbal contract is basically जो कि these are basically the promises. So that are not applicable in case of the civil engineering works. Now there are legal aspects of contract also. So whenever we enter the contract, so by that with the help of that contract, we are able to get the get the product on time and under the specified cost, and under that all the responsibility goes to the contract who received. Okay, so this is the benefit. Now let us see the legal aspects of the contract. So construction work on project takes on the land, and for a contract to be a legally valid, the construction project must be fit into the legal framework governing the properties. These include government regulation on the use of property and obligations that are created in the process of construction. Since a contract is an exchange set of obligations between two or more parties, it must be designed to ensure that each side is capable of performing the obligations. Also, there are main requirements of a valid contract. So, certain criteria. So, we will see those criteria one by one. So, first is criteria is the legally competent party. So, what are the legally competent parties? So, as per the Indian Contract Act, the parties entering into the contract should be legally competent. Means any party which is registered which is registered under the any law or under any authority can give the contract, legal contract. Okay, means any person cannot give the contract. Means as per legal contract, the party must be registered or that must have some authority stamp. Anyone who is the age of majority and is of sound mind can enter into the contract. Any person who is at the age of the maturity means the person, because the contract is associated with the money. So any person who is at the majority age or adult age can and have a sound mind can give the contract. Or subordinate authority who has not been directed or authorized cannot be involved in signing any contract. Subordinate authority who has not been directed or unauthorized or authorized cannot be involved in the signing in contract. So these are the condition of legally competent party. Second condition is the free consent of the parties. So it means it means concurring of two minds in respect of the same opinion, purpose, or understanding as regard the course of the pursuit. So this is also there, means the both the parties have a clear mind that they have to complete that particular work. Another condition is the contract is said to be free consent when it is not caused under any influence, means the contract is not being influenced by the any other person or authority or any other reason. It is not caused by the mistake, and it is not caused by the misrepresentation, or it is not caused by the fraud. It is not caused under the duress. So these are the conditions when any contract is said to be the free. And the third condition is the a lawful subject matter. So the contract become invalid in certain cases when the proposed contract violated some of the country's law, or when it is contrary to the rules of the common law, or when it is forbidden by the public policy. Also, any person cannot escape from the responsibility by simply saying that he entered into the contract unknowingly. So that means whenever you sign any contract or whenever you enter into the contract, you have to add some clauses by which any party are forced or any party is binded to perform that work. After the contract, any of the party cannot be deny that he forcefully entered into the contract or unknowingly he is entered to the contract. Okay, so signing a contract is very important thing. Fourth thing, that is the proper and valid consideration. So basically, the valid consideration is termed as an act or a promise to do something by a party in return of money, or a promise or a grant of some interest by other party. So proper consideration means there must be an exchange of the money versus the services, or product versus the money. Okay, so that must be there. Also, last and one more consideration is also there. So that is the consideration may not be adequate in full return of the promise, but it must be the component real and should not be illegal, ambiguous, and impossible or uncertain. So means all the product or services which are given under the contract, so that must be delivered completely, and that thing there should not be illegal or ambiguous or impossible or uncertain. So this must be in the contract. Also, meaningful contract in written and signed by the both parties. So generally in the contract, meaning of agreement should be certain or capable of being made certain. Also, according to the law, the contract must be signed by the authorized person of both the parties. That means if any contract is signed by the two organizations, so there must be two authorized persons from those organizations are there to sign. Okay. Also, in case of the public bodies, an officially duty authorized for this purpose sign the contract, fixing the seal of the public body on the agreement. So these are the lawful bindings of the contract. Now, because there is a contract, so you must know that there are various law related to the contracts are there, and you must aware about that, because in the unawareness of that these law, you are not able to prepare a contract. And also, when any contract is given to your organization, you are not able to check. Generally, these works are these work related to the contract are performed by the lawyers, lawyers related to that particular company. But sometime in the government department, as a civil engineer, you have to see these things also. So the law of the contract is the basis of a business law, because the bulk of the transaction of the people engaged in the trade, commerce, and industry is based on the contract. In India, the law of the contract contains the Indian Contract Act 1872. The Act lays down the general principle relating to confirmation, performance, and enforceability of a contract, and the rule relating to certain special type of a contract, like uh, guarantee, bailment, indemnity, pledge, and agency. And through the Partnership Act, Sales of Good Act, the Negotiable Instrument Act, Companies Act technically belong to the law of the contract, and yet they have been covered by the separate enactments. However, the general principles of a contract law are the basis for all such contracts as well. Now, the main features of the contract law are: the parties to the contract under the contract may a law for themselves. The act is not exhaustive, since it does not take into its pure view all the relevant legislations. Also, it does not override the customs or usages. Also, the law of contract is not the whole law of agreement. As per the Indian Contract Act 1872, the a contract is an agreement enforceably by the law. Enforceable by the law, that means if any dispute is happen, So the parties have in support from the law. Also, the agreement not enforceable by law are not contract. An agreement means a promise or a set of a promise forming consideration for each other. A promise arises when a proposal is accepted. By implication, an agreement is an accepted proposal. In other words, an agreement consists of an offer and its acceptance. An offer is the starting point in the process of making an agreement. Every agreement begins with one party making an offer to sell something or to provide a service. When one person who desired to create a legal obligations communication to another of his willingness to do or not to do a thing with a view to obtain the consent of the other person toward such an act or absentia. The person is said to be making a proposal or offer. Also, an agreement emerges from the acceptance of offer. Thus, the acceptance is the second stage of completing a contract. An acceptance is the act of manifestation by the offeree of his assent to the in terms of the offer. It signifies the offeree willing to be bound by the term of the proposal communicated to him. To be valid, and acceptance must be correspond exactly with the term of the offer. So basically, there are three, four terms. Contract. Contract is legal agreement. Agreement is promise under the law. Offer is an starting point. Acceptance is the second stage. Okay. So contract is basically a paper thing. Under the contract, there are promises are written. Okay, that must be done. This must be done. This must be done. This must be done. Basically, initially, notice inviting tender is float in the newspaper. NIT is float in that paper. Then, when party agrees, then contract is prepared. And after that, when the contract signed, so that agreement is done, that is when that is an acceptance basically. Now it must be unconditional. Acceptance must be unconditional and absolute, and it must be communicated to the offerer. An agreement is a contract if it is made by the free consent of the party competent to contract for a lawful consideration and with a lawful object, and is not expressly declared to be void. The contract must be definite and its purpose should be to create a legal relationship. The parties to a contract must have the legal capacity to make it, and according to the Contract Act, every person is competent to contract who is of the age of majority according to the law to which he is subject, and who is sound mind and is not disqualified from the contracting, and any law to which he is subjected. Thus, the minor person of unsound mind and the person disqualified from contracting by any law are incompetent to the contract. Generally, in the business people, when any person declare himself bankrupt or diwaliya, so he is not able to participate in the contract. Now, in the contract, the civil engineer perspective, the first thing you must know that is the law related to the land acquisition, because when you become an engineer in a CPWD or irrigation department or uh, electricity department as a civil engineer, your first thing is to, and any project is given to you for the laying of new canal, for the laying of new electric line, or for a construction of a new building in a new area. So first thing is the land acquisition. So under this law related, the first there are two categories of the land acquisition. First is the permanent land and second is the temporary land. So under this, the land is to be acquired permanently for expected life of the project are known as a permanent land. For example, consider the case of laying a new pipeline. Land is acquired permanently along the pipeline route and facility site such as a pump station, metering station, block value station, wall station, anode ground, beds, power line polygons, etc. are they done there. So they are this type of land which is acquired. There is permanent land. Second type is temporary land. So all areas which are needed in addition to the permanently acquired land in order to carry out the construction and installation of a pipeline systems and associated facilities are acquired on the temporary basis. This includes contractor camp, storage yard, and other auxiliary areas needed for the storage of equipment and materials. So such type of the lands are temporary because once the construction activity completes, so these areas are handover. Now, in the land acquisition, there is a constitutional framework. So in this, acquisition and requisition of property falls in the concurrent list, which means both the center and state government can make law on this matter. There are a number of local and specific law which provides for acquisition of a land under them, but the main law that deals with the acquisition is the Land Acquisition Act 1894. Land can be acquired either by the state or a central government for the purpose listed under the state or central list respectively, unless the central government delegates the task to the state government under the article 258(1) of the constitution. Also under the article 31(2), categorically state that the land can be acquired by the state only for the public purpose. Also, in every case, the land acquisition must take place in a manner that fully protects the interest of the landowner and also to those whose livelihood depends on the land being acquired. There are several amendments are also done in the land acquisition rules. So once the land is acquired, then the next thing is to hire the labor or start the construction activity. So for that purpose, thing is to do to hire the labor. So for that purpose, you must know the law related to the labor safety, welfare, and payment. So under that, the first thing is the Payment of Wages Act. So this act is related to the payment of wages. This act was introduced to regulate the payments of wages, imposition of a fine, etc. The term wages includes all remunerations, including all allowances, bonus, notice pay, etc. But it does not include the house rent, water, electricity charges, travel allowances, medical allowances, pension, gratuity, etc. According to this act, wages are to be paid promptly on a month basis, and if any person is terminated from the services, his wages should be settled within the 2 days of termination. This act is applicable to the employee having a salary less than the 1,600 rupees per month. So now this is changed, and it is changed to 10,000 near about. Next is Minimum Wages Act. Okay. So according to this act, the provision is made for the statutory fixation of a minimum rate of wages in the establishment. Wages of construction worker in India is paid either on the time rate basis or piece rate basis. In North Indian side, when the wages are paid time rate basis, so that is called as dihadi, and the piece rate basis, so that is called as theka basis. Okay. So according to this act, different minimum rates can be fixed depending on the class of work, type of personnel employed, like adult, permanent employee, or apprentice, and depending on the location of work. So that can be done there. Also, there is a Factories Act. So when the laborers are or man person is involved in the factory, so that is also there. So under this act, health, safety, welfare, working hour, annual leave, accidents, and any penalties are taken care of. Regarding the health, arrangements for proper cleanliness of the premises, disposal of waste, ventilation, and comfortable working temperature are to be maintained. In many Gulf countries, when large Indian workers are employed at many construction sites, the work has to stop when the temperature exceeds 40 degrees centigrade. This is according to their labor law. Adequate water supply, sanitary arrangements are to be made at the site. First aid equipment, ambulance, canteen, rest sheds, proper washing areas are to be provided under this Factories Act. Normally, the working hours are restricted to 8 hours per day with a lunch break of a half hour and a total of not more than 48 hours per week. If the worker is engaged on the holiday, compensatory leave is to be given. Overtime wages are at twice the ordinary rates of wages. Women workers should be employed only from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And in case of the accident, proper compensation is to be paid as per the provisions. So this is under the Factories Act. Also, what under what condition the labor contract can be done? Generally, on the field, there are several type of the contract. material contract, labor contract. So when the labor contract is done, so that must be follow some regulations, and that we will going to see. So under this act, the provisions for improving the condition of contract labor, according to this act, the contractors should get themselves registered and obtain certificate of registration. The welfare and health provisions to be provided to the contract labor, including the restroom, proper ventilation, lighting, water supply, sanitary facilities, first aid facilities, and washings are also contained in this act. Payment of wages of each worker is to be made within the prescribed period. So this is under the labor contract. There is also a Labor Welfare Fund Act 1965. So this act provides the constitution of a fund for financing the activities to prompt the welfare of labor, establishment of state labor welfare board, appointment of welfare commissioner and inspectors are invest in this act. The accumulation of the fund come from all the fine released from the employees. Unpaid wages of the worker, including the gratuity and bonus grants and loan towards the fund and any voluntary donation. So this is the fund which is utilized for that. Also, there is a Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, and this is amended in 1984. So this act is for providing the social security to the worker. Compensation is to be paid to the worker in case of accident sustained during the course of unemployment, and the amount is decided upon the seriousness. The dependents are eligible to receive the compensation. This act is applicable to all persons employed in construction, maintenance, repair, or demolition work. Under this act, financial relief is given in certain cases. Cases like in case of the death, or on account of the unoccupational diseases, or for permanent or partial disablement, and half monthly payment for the temporary disablement. Also, there is the Trade Union Act 1926. So trade union is an association of a person formed mainly for the purpose of regulating the relations between the employer and employee. A minimum of 7 workers can join together and forms the trade union. The union has to get itself registered with the registrar of trade union. The relevant details such as the name, address, and objective of forming the union and subscription rates are all to be specified before the registration. Normally, the objectives of trade unions are evolving a wage formula for the worker, linking the cost of living and the existing standard of living. Also, improving the working conditions of the worker by limiting the working hour, providing the leave facility, education, and other welfare facilities. Educate bonus, protection of the workers against the improper treatment, providing the security of employment, and getting justice in case of the imposed punishment. So generally these trade unions or the workers unions are need to be registered, because when any employer is there and employees are working, So sometimes it is difficult for an employee to raise their issues against the employer. So in such case, under this Trade Union Act, the the workers can make an organization and that can deals with the employer. So if there any mishappening is happen on the site, so this organization works for the employees or the workers. Now after these rules, let us see what are the different documents which are under the contract. So document related to the awarding contracts are called the contract documents. A construction contract comprises with the some of the documents like contract drawing, specifications, general conditions of the contract, specific conditions of the contract, the agreement, the bill of the quantities also there. So we will see this thing in detail. So the first thing is the contract drawings. So the contract drawings are the means through which the physical, quantitative and visual descriptions of the project are conveyed to the contractor. These are normally provided in the form of a two-dimensional diagram, referred to as a plan or a blueprint. However, in some cases, the drawing could be improved in form of a soft copy consisting of read-only AutoCAD drawing lines. The drawings are classified into the first the side drawing, second the architectural drawing, giving all the details to convey to the contractor an overall picture of a total work. Also, the next is the structural drawing. So structural drawing did have the details of the position of columns, beams, reinforcement, and other structural components. HVAC is basically heat, ventilation, and air conditioning system, and other services drawings are also there. Electrical drawings are also there, and special details such as a fire fighting installation, building, automation, etc. are also there. Next thing in the contract, that is the specifications. Wait a minute. So in the specifications are technical provisions are the written instructions to carry out the work. It also contains the information not possible to show on a piece of a drawing. Generally, on the drawing, you are not able to show all the specifications. So for that, a specification sheet is also prepared. The drawing and specifications are also useful for preparing the cost estimate of the work. And these specifications are commonly deal with the some of the aspects like quality of material, quality of workmanship, frequency of testing, approved manufacturer, relevant Indian standard describing the material, and the inspection and installation method. So, in general condition of the contract, the general condition of the contracts are an essential part of the contract. The term general implies that the document is a standard one used in all the contracts entered by the party. Different owners such as CPWD, MES, IOCL have the standard form of a general conditions. The general condition of the contract are set out the responsibility and obligations of the parties to the contract. It gives the scope and the performance of the contract, valuations and payment terms, arbitration and labor regulations, safety code, various forms used for the vendor and the required deed under the general condition of the contract. It is advisable to use standard general conditions of contract since most of these conditions have been tested in court over a period of the time. In India, government jobs or government works basically, CPWD condition of the contracts are most widely used. Along with this general condition, there are special condition of the contract. So there are certain amendment, addition, deletions are made in the general condition of the contract in order to make it suitable for a particular project. These amendments are contained in a separated document called as a special condition of a contract or SCC. SCC commonly addresses the issues, certain issues. These issues are related to the material provided by the owner, site visit, mobilization of advances, start date of the construction, and requirement of various reports related to the progress. So these comes under the special conditions. General conditions are basically those conditions which are general for all type of the contract. Special conditions depend on the type of the work, location of the work, type of the contractor, etc. Also, the last document which is come under the contract, that is the bill of the quantities, that is also known as the BOQ. BOQ is a very common name used in most of the government departments. So the bill of the quantity shows the net quantity to be executed in each item of the work. Items are classified into the earthwork, anti-termite treatment, waterproofing, brickwork, concreting, whitewashing and painting, flooring and finishing, door and windows, structural steel, aluminium works, stone work, etc. So these things comes under the bill of the quantities or BOQ. Next thing, to know the types of the contracts. So basically, the types of the contracts are depending upon the type of the work, which work needs to be executed under the contract. So depending upon that, the types of the contracts are created. So in this the category of the contract, there are separated contract, there are the management contract, there is the integrated contract, and there is a discretionary contract. So in the separated contract, there is a lump sum contract, measurement item rate and percentage rate contract. There is a cost plus percentage contract. In the management contract, there is a management contract, construction management contract, design management and construction contract. In the integrated contract, there is a design build contract, there is a turnkey contract, there is a build, operate and transfer contract, and in the discretionary contract there is a partnership contract and joint ventures. So we will see all these types of the contract one by one. So